Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well. I have a horrific subscriber interview out of the state of Missouri. Before we jump into it, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below. The merch is displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They all were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It doesn't cost a cent. Click that like button. It takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all these things, they really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to tonight's second half, shall we? All right, everybody. Tonight I have a subscriber with us. His name is Jeremy. He is going to share a couple of encounters, things that he has had happen to him with us tonight. I'm very thankful that Jeremy found some time out of his day to come on. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing good, sir. How are you?
I'm very well, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to share your experiences with us.
Oh, I'm glad to be on. I mean, I love your show. I listen to you all the time. Well, I guess I'll just jump right into it. My first encounter, I was about 85. I was about 12 years old. I lived on my grandfather's farm, and dirt roads, and grandfather had a four-wheeler, and I got to ride it all the time. My cousin lived about 2 miles down the road, and I went to go see my cousin. And so I jumped on the four-wheeler and took off, and about a half a mile down the road, I stopped the four-wheeler because I saw a deer. And being young like that and grew up hunting and stuff like that, I always just loved seeing how big the rack are on these things. Well, anyway, I had stopped four-wheeler, turned it off because I didn't want to scare it. And I was sitting here watching the deer, and it was to the left of me. And I heard something to the right in the woods, and it was loud enough. I mean, limbs and stuff like that on the ground were being snapped in two, and that caught my attention. Of course, we had bobcats and stuff there. This was in Arkansas, and it kind of spooked me a little bit. And so I started the four-wheeler up, and I started going down the road. Well, as I was going down the road, I started hearing something run beside me, and it was keeping up with me. And being 12, by myself, so I kind of hit the gas on the four-wheeler and started going a little faster. Well, this thing was constantly staying up with me. The faster I went, it was just like right there on my right-hand side. And I look over trying to see what this thing was. And at the time, I had no idea what I was looking at, but it looked like a big dog. It never looked at me. It just right there in the tree line. It was staying with me, and I couldn't make out what it was, and because I've never seen it before. And well, anyway, I just gunned it, and eventually it quit chasing me. I got to my uncle's house, and I told him that a big wolf was following me. And my uncle told me, well, we don't have any wolves around here, and he just kind of took it to my imagination. And I was petrified to go back to my grandpa's. I guess about 2 hours went by before I was willing to go back. Well, when I got back on that road, I gunned it. That four-wheeler, I gave it everything it had. And I finally got back to my grandpa, and I told my grandpa what happened. And he acted like he believed me to a point, but he never really said anything. And he kind of just blew it off. But I could tell that he knew something was out there. Well, a couple of nights later, I was in my room and I heard something hit the side of the house, and it was a fairly bright, the moon was fairly bright that night. And I looked out my window and I saw a shadow, and it was just kind of profiling the window. And it looked like what I saw out in the woods. And I was petrified. I was frozen solid. I tried screaming, and I just couldn't get nothing to come out. Well, then the head, it turned its head and was looking in the window. Of course, my room was dark, and then I heard it sniff. Well, anyway, after I heard it sniff, I started screaming. And as I started screaming, it disappeared. My grandfather come running in there, and I told him there was something outside the window. So he got his gun and he went outside, but he never saw anything. And that was my very first experience with the Dogman. Now, when I was out in the woods by myself, because that's just where I lived, every once in a while, I would feel like I was being watched. I knew all the local animals because I pretty much hunted everything there was. And, but every once in a while, I'd just get this scared feeling that I was being watched. And I never saw anything during those times. And I would always book it back out of the woods. Well, about a month after the window incident, I was outside. It was starting to get dark, and I was around my grandpa's farm. His pond, and I heard something close by in the woods again. Of course, my grandpa had cattle and stuff like that, so I thought maybe it was his cattle, and so I didn't really pay any attention to it. And then I heard a howl. But the howl was like really, really close, and that scared me. So I ran back into the house, and that was pretty much my experience there when I was young. And then about a few years ago, I think about 2 years ago, I had a buddy of mine. He was working on a dairy farm, and the farmer was having some cattle that started coming up missing, mostly calves. And they found a calf that was tore up, and they thought, there was just a predator around, but they never did see what was around. They never could catch anything. Well, he told me that there were some big wolf prints, is what they thought they were. So I told him, I said, "Do you mind if I come out there and take a look?" And so I went out there, and he showed me the spot where they had found the calf at, and showed me the print, and it was a big print. I mean, the biggest print I ever saw. And I wasn't real familiar with the prints left by, a Dogman or anything like that. But I seen a few pictures that jumped to my head. I was like, Bud, you might have a Dogman. Of course, he didn't believe me. And, well, about a week later, he called me and asked me that about the Dogman. And I said, well, what, why are you asking me about this? And he said that he lived on in a trailer on the property there, and the box on the pole started fizzing and popping and stuff. So he looked out his back door, and the box, he lost power. And well, anyway, his boss, they fixed it. And the next night, while he was at work, his wife called him and told him that there was something that hit the side of the trailer in the backside, because there was about 35 feet, and there was tree line. Well, she was there by herself, and something hit the trailer, and she saw what looked like a big dog looking in the window at her. And well, anyway, so that scared her, and so he called me, and I went out there to stay the night with him, because he was starting to get convinced of the Dogman. And while we were sitting around talking and stuff like that, and started hearing popping and carrying on, and he was like, that's the box outside. And so we opened the back door up and looked outside, and the box was fine. And then off to the right of it, in the darkness, we could hear the popping going on. It's like mimicking or something. And so we get to looking, and we're like, well, that's kind of weird. And we saw something in the darkness move from the right to the left, and we saw these eyes. It seemed like it was about 6-7 foot, and they were kind of an amber-looking color, and just looking at us. And so we shut up the door, and I told him, I said, man, you got a Dogman here. And I said, that's the only thing it can be. I mean, that's all I know it could be. And well, it wasn't long after that. He had actually seen it himself, and they got scared, and he quit his job, and he moved from that, moved back into town, and he's convinced now of Dogman 100%, because he just couldn't explain what he had saw. And there's I have an experience with a Bigfoot. Just happened about 7 years ago. I was out visiting a buddy, and he kind of lived out in the country. And we were all sitting around. It was about springtime, and his daughter was in the backyard, and doors and windows open because it was spring. It was nice. And we're all sitting around talking. So we all jump up and start running to the back door. Well, he gets to the doorway, and he just stops. And I pretty much just pushed him out of the doorway. and his daughter come running up the stairs, and she's crying and carrying on. And he asked her. He says, what's going on? What are you crying? She said that a man tried to get her, and she was about 5 at this time. And well, he got her in the house. We all went back in the house, and I asked him. I said, "What did you stop for?" And he said that when he got to the doorway, there was something he said he couldn't explain, but it's the fence line. The fence was about 3 foot tall or so. He said when he got to the doorway that he saw this thing step over the fence line and started making to the woods, that's behind the house. Well, I didn't mention that when I pushed him out of the door, I had saw the Bigfoot start to disappear into the tree line. And anyway, so after he kind of calmed down and got his daughter calmed down, we went behind the fence line to pretty much just, see where this thing was at. And the grass behind his fence line there, it was about 2 foot tall, wasn't maintained. But you could see it was about 3 foot from the fence on the other side there, where something was set down, squatted down. It had pushed all that grass down, and I mean, it was like it was huge, that area where it was at. And well, we noticed that there was a grass that was down about 6 foot away. And then we noticed another part of the grass that was pushed out. So we go over there and start looking. And this Bigfoot, it smashed the ground down. Of course, they had never seen anything like that before. And that was the first time I'd ever encountered a Bigfoot myself. And we're talking 15 inches long and probably 4 or 5 inches wide, that this thing had pushed the grass down as it had disappeared into the tree line. And well, he went back and he got guns for all of us, and we started heading off into the tree line. And we never saw anything, but we probably walked about a quarter of a mile into the woods there, looking, but it was gone. But that was that was the first time, that I'd ever actually encountered a Bigfoot.
Yeah, definitely a Sasquatch there. It's crazy that he kind of stopped dead in his tracks. Obviously he had seen something, and that's when you were telling me, I was like, he must have saw it then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, while we talked for a little while before this. You said that your friend had an encounter with what a lot of people are calling crawlers. Do you have permission to share that with us?
Oh yeah. This happened about 2 months ago or so. My roommate, he was across the street visiting, and it was about 11 o'clock at night, and he was headed back to the house. Well, they have a carport, a garage, detached to the house next to him. And he was walking out, and he heard something on their roof, and he had a flashlight with him, and he looked up, and he saw a head and a shoulder. And what he described it to me was it it was pale white. It had two black eyes and two, where the nose is supposed to be, there was two black dots. And he said he saw it, they looked at each other's eyes there. And then a second later, it was gone. And it had him freaked out. I mean, he didn't move from that spot. He said he stood there probably 10 minutes just looking and seeing if there was any, what it was. Well, a couple of nights later, he was back across the street, and it was fairly late at night when he decided he was coming back over the house, and he just stepped out on the porch, and he looked over here at the house, and in front of my car in the driveway, he saw this thing looking at him through my windshield, and it moved over to the driver's side, and I have a motion light, and when it got over to that side, my motion light came on, and he got a better look at this thing. He said it was fairly small, skinny, longer arms than usual, and he said it dug down, and by the time he got over here, it was completely gone, and which explains some things to me, because when I'm here at the house by myself late at night, there's a couple of times that I heard something on my roof, and I'd go out to check it out, and I never saw anything. But it was a couple of different nights that there was something on my roof walking around. And so with what he told me and what I heard, it's the only thing I could think that thing could be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that you were telling me about with your roommate is he had asked the neighbors too if they had seen anything. And
well, I went to the neighbor. Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
I went to the neighbor and told him that without that there's somebody around our houses, and so we went to walking around, and he had some totes in his backyard, and some few other things, and his totes were all open. His stuff was gone through. He said nothing was taken, but I mean, totes was dumped over. The stuff in it was out. So obviously there was something going through his stuff that night, and that was the same night that he said he saw it over here. Kind of hiding behind my car. Right.
And it's another important thing with this whole thing. Jeremy and I had talked for a while. Is this area has a small cemetery around it as well, and could it be coming from there? Could it be coming from somewhere else? Who knows? But it's definitely a freaky experience. And if coincidentally, maybe the cemetery is involved, maybe it's not, but it's just it's there, and that's even more creepier, if you ask me.
Yeah, the cemetery behind my neighbor across the street, I mean, it's literally just probably 30 feet, behind their house. And they told me a while back that they thought there was somebody in their backyard a few months back. They never saw anything, but they said that it looked like something was back there in the back part of their yard. they just briefly saw it and it was gone. So it's just a lot of weird things, you know?
Yeah. Definitely is. Definitely. I mean, I'm almost, and like I said, we had talked about crawlers and, with, what I thought about them. And, I always say that I have theories. I don't claim to be an expert, but part of me thinks these crawler things are, hang out in caves, in cave systems. And I asked if there was any caves in your area, and you said, yeah, you're not really sure where they are. But it makes sense because these things are seen at night, very often, seen at night. And maybe they're on the hunt. They've got a very weird colored skin and odd eyes. So, I mean, part of me wants to think they're like a nocturnal cave species of some sort. I mean, who knows until we find one in real life and put it on a table and cut it open.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's anybody out there that really into these things, if you got any information, I mean, please share, because I'm at loss on these things. I would kind of like to know what's around this area, and I just, like I said, these things, I don't know anything about them.
Right. I don't think too many people do either. I mean, I don't think there's a lot of information available out there. But like I said to you, I'm gonna kind of dive into that and check it out a little bit, because this encounter with your experience with these things kind of piqued my interest. I mean, you've been alone home at night hearing something on your roof. It's spotted by your roommate on your neighbor's roof. I want to figure out if there's a correlation with the cemetery as well. Just all in all, an interesting batch of experience that you've shared with us tonight, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Like I said, I know my stories aren't like some of your, you guests you have on, but those are just mine, Mm-hmm. I don't share them with too many people, but I feel comfortable with your show, and obviously there's other people on here that seen these things and are willing to share. So was I.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna ask you guys in the comment section if you guys have any information about what his roommate experienced. If you guys could shed some light on that in the comment section, maybe we can come to some sort of conclusion or have a good idea of, yes, it's a crawler, but if anybody has any good theories or anything else, please share it in the comment section. I'd really appreciate it, and I'm sure Jeremy would too.
Oh yes, I would. Especially if it happens again, I want to know what I can do.
Yeah,
if I'm all by myself.
Absolutely. Well, it was great having you on. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we end the interview?
Yeah. If you had an experience and you're unsure, if you want to share it, do you think people will think you're crazy? Don't. Because the only way that these are going to come out to light is if we share our stories. And there's a lot of people who are just curious about these things, and it just helps everybody.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right, folks, I hope you all enjoyed today's second half as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Some very terrifying encounters. Guys, this channel is really honestly becoming something that I never thought it would become. a place for people to come and share, for people to have acceptance without judgment on their encounters. And it is all you guys. It's all your guys' support that makes this channel possible. So thank you. With that, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Please keep an eye on your children, your pets, your loved ones, and your friends. We know these creatures are out there, and we know they are real. The best thing we can do to keep them safe is share the information we share with each other on a daily basis. God bless you.